Hello, dear. I know.
Okay, we're live. Welcome, friends and neighbors, to our first 2019 Hurricane Resolution meeting. Hope this is the first and the last. Carla, you want to roll call?
Commissioner DeHasseth,
Present.
Commissioner Herbert,
Here.
Vice Mayor Magruder,
Here.
absent with notice, Mayor Koss and Commissioner Pessler.
We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Before we begin, do we have any comments from residents? Christine?
I don't know whether this is the right time, but, I have, and with what, I'm trying to leave, let's put by air, okay? Okay. I have two questions. If you leave your home with a security on, and, FPL, we've cut off electricity, would Chief Hutchins know what happens with your system? Is it shrieking here if you're connected? Or is it shrieking in your own home for 3 days? You know what I'm saying? Because maybe I shouldn't put it on. What is the?
So it depends upon the system that you have. If you're gonna leave, just act like we're not having a hurricane and set everything the way you normally do, and we'll deal with whether it's shrieking here or whether it's shrieking at your house. And if you're going to leave, I would recommend that you leave information at the front desk on how we can get a hold of you if possible.
You have my cell phone and
And if
always
it-
available.
If it continues to shriek in your home and bothers your neighbors or continues to
Gina
shriek here,
Rosenberg is in charge.
we'll call you and ask you if we can go in and turn it off.
Of course.
If the power is out, it probably will not do anything.
I would think so. That's what I thought. So it's best to leave it on, you think?
I think so.
Okay, well, it's good to know. And then the other thing is, does anybody have sort of a record what streets definitely, lose electricity? Like, for example, Adams and around us, do they all lose electricity? I think the past one, Irma, I heard, because I was out of Florida, that we lost for 3 days, but I have no record of that.
I can tell you from 34 years of experience, it depends on the foliage around the power lines.
I know that well, yes.
And so if you have high palms and they interact with the high tension line and the ground line, you're going to lose power. But I think there's no way, I'm on my side of Ridge Boulevard always goes out. The north side of Ridge Boulevard is always on, so I run an extension cord across
I
the
discussed
street.
this in June, the fact that the property north of us has bushes that haven't been trimmed in years, and it's on the electric lines going from A1A to the beach. I don't know whether they've been cut back, because I started this in June, the conversation about this, and whether the condo manager has done anything about it. It's right by the open pit, their septic system. And it's a concern for all of us, for them, and for certainly the 7 houses, and, I don't know, I was told that an officer would go and look, but I never got any feedback, and we're in August.
So to answer the question, townwide, we did a survey of trees and wires. Those that were in the FPL wires, we addressed with FPNL and the residents or the property managers. We've had FPNL out many, many times, especially in your area. You recently lost power because of bad wire in a transformer that was blamed on foliage. It wasn't foliage, it was a bad wire in a transformer.
So does
There
that,
is no way for us to predict, and there is no pattern of power loss that we can look back historically on a storm and say, yes, this area always loses it. It depends upon where the fault in the system is. If one wire falls down serving a single house or a condo in Ocean Ridge, The system is designed to continue to operate and to isolate that wire. If a tree hits a main line in Boynton,
That's,
it will take down probably half of the town of Ocean Ridge until they can reroute power. So it's very, depends upon where you are and what is affected. We continue to go by and remind people that they have to remove the foliage from the utility lines, which is Comcast, AT&T, and FP&L. Comcast and AT&T are not often efficient at doing it.
that's right.
FP&L always sends someone out, and they get to make the determination. And if the line is within 10 feet of an active power line, a resident should not be trimming. We had an incident this year where someone from a tree trimming company decided to try and trim those and electrocuted himself
Oh, jeez,
right down the street from your house.
yeah.
So while we understand that it's problematic, it depends upon the storm and exactly where the damage is. It could be a small tornado that goes through and takes everything out in
So
the specific
basically,
area,
you
or it can
might-
be one branch that takes out 5 houses. It just depends on what happens during any particular
Because I
event.
don't know that anything was trimmed, you know, on all those.
I can tell you that Asplund, who works for FP&L, has been in your neighborhood a significant amount of time since June, trimming different projects based upon what FP&L tells them they need to trim. I know that they trimmed south and north of Adams this year. Whether they trimmed that specific tree, I don't have that information in front of me.
Basically, you have to, how do you say, accept that you're gonna run out of power.
I always, and I don't want to sound like a smart aleck, but whenever we're faced with anything that looks like this, a tropical storm or a hurricane, I anticipate that somewhere in town, we're going to have a power outage.
Oh, yeah.
That's just the condition of the lines.
I was thinking maybe there's a record of what streets really flood, you know, when it's 100 miles an hour, possibly a category 3 or 2, or which areas.
Flooding, I
always lose
think,
power.
is
It's
much
the-
easier to predict based on history than power outages based on the storm.
And flooding is
It's just
dependent,
unpredictable.
yeah, flooding is dependent upon the direction the storm approaches us, the tide level that we're at, and the amount of rain that we get. So it's very storm specific, and I will tell you that if we're in a high tide with a king tide and a storm is approaching and we're on the bad side of it, most of the town will have standing water for a period of time until it recedes.
Yeah.
The roads will flood.
Yeah, I get it, I know, it's just, the best decision, I guess, is to, you know, go to the airport, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, if I can get a ticket, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
I
Christine.
wish everybody all the best.
Those are
Thank
good
you.
questions.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Tracy, would you like to
Yeah.
go through?
Sure. Carla, do you want to read the resolution by title for me?
Resolution of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, declaring a state of emergency within the Town of Ocean Ridge, providing for an effective date.
Okay. Although it is too early at this time to tell what impacts the tropical storm Dorian may have on Ocean Ridge, a majority of our town commissioners will either be out of state or out of town beginning tomorrow. So that's why we called the special meeting today, in order to pre-plan in the event of an emergency. There is no such thing as being too cautious or too prepared. The resolution before the town commission today gives myself and the police chief the proper authority necessary to make decisions and carry out our respective storm-related duties in the event that Governor DeSantis declares a state of emergency for our area, and to ensure that we have the proper documents in place in order to apply for the FEMA reimbursements after the storm as necessary. If you would like, I would like to read our first
Go ahead,
storm update that we will be posting later today. The National Hurricane Center is currently forecasting Tropical Storm Dorian to become a major hurricane. Ocean Ridge is in the cone of uncertainty and facing the possibility of tropical storm-related conditions within the next few days. While it is too early to tell what impacts the storm will have on Ocean Ridge, town staff has begun making the preparations and initiating our hurricane preparedness plans. We urge residents to do the same, review and prioritize their own family storm preparedness plans now, know the evacuation zones and options, and monitor the media for storm updates. All storm preparations should be completed no later than Friday. Based upon current projections, tropical storm force winds are expected to begin to move into our area on Saturday. No mandatory evacuation orders have been issued for our area yet. However, we recommend that if you plan to evacuate to a safe place, you do so as early as possible to avoid traffic congestion and other issues that may arise for you. Town Hall is currently open for normal business hours, Monday through Friday. There will be no building permit inspections available on Friday this week. All construction-related activities are subject to town code and strictly will be enforced. All construction sites should be properly secured no later than Friday. As of today, normal garbage collection is anticipated to occur this Friday. Please refrain from placing additional landscape trimmings and bulk trash items curbside during this period, as the Solid Waste Authority is preparing their sites for the anticipated storm debris. Additional updates will be posted on the town's website and social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, and Nextdoor, and also on the town's emergency alert system, Civic Ready. Residents may also call the town's citizen information line for updates. Information will be updated periodically as significant changes occur. For further information, contact Palm Beach County Emergency Management, Ocean Ridge Town Hall, or the Ocean Ridge Police Department. We urge you to monitor local media outlets for the latest information on this storm event. And if you haven't already signed up for Civic Ready, now is the time to do so. And if you need help, Town Hall staff will be happy to help you with that.
What is the town hotline? What is
It
the number?
is 561.
Are the microphones on?
I think so.
I don't
They
think
should
so.
be.
It should be. I don't know.
No.
561-738-6735, and we will be posting that online for everybody, so you have the proper links to websites and the proper phone numbers.
Carla, can you check on the microphones? They don't seem to be on. A question overall, and Chief, I've been asked this a couple of times. At what point are we on the island supposed to evacuate? Is it hurricane category 1, 2, 3? And if we evacuate, when we evacuate, what is the protocol to coming back on the island? Is there a certain amount of time that's necessary in between? Obviously, you have to show ID, although I think you know everybody here. And is there a period that nobody is allowed back on the island while assessments are being done? 30 words or less.
All of that is dependent upon the storm size.
I know that.
The storm track and the severity of damage that occurs here. That being said, generally, at the issuance of a hurricane watch, 48 hours in advance of hurricane force winds, an evacuation will likely be ordered for barrier islands and low-lying areas in Palm Beach County. Upon hurricane warning, a mandatory evacuation will be issued by Palm Beach County in conjunction with a conference call with law enforcement and fire rescue. The issue of whether or not you are able to come back and forth is dependent upon what's going on. I will tell you that we will do our assessment upon the passing of any storm, and dependent upon the amount of damage and the ability to travel and safety is how I will make the decision as to whether we have roadblocks or we do not. We will return to normal as soon as possible. That may mean that, unlike past storms where people were told you can't come over here at all, that some people are allowed to come back and some aren't. And I'll give you a perfect example. Last storm, a telephone pole fell down that had electric wires on it on the North Island. We blocked off the North Island. Everything else in town was open. Some of it, there were some power outages, but that was an energized live wire that we couldn't let people drive over. Once that was remedied, that was open. We'll do our best to get our residents back in as quickly as possible, only after we can make sure that it's safe and that you're not going to electrocute yourself, and that things aren't incredibly damaged. We do that on a case-by-case basis. Be patient. After that, we'll start to try and allow some service workers in. Until that point in time, the only people we let in our utility crews, which are FPL and gas people in the fire department. There isn't anybody that has enough manpower to not do that on the barrier island.
Will you provide updates through Civic Ready as to you can come back onto the barrier island now?
It's my intention,
Okay, if it's up, yeah.
Yeah.
it's my intention to use Civic Ready and the other town social media to provide updates when they're necessary. So at least once a day, if we're having a storm event, and then as needed, especially afterwards, to give you information. So please sign up for Civic Ready. It's the best platform we know that you can get right now. And if our website is up and we're able to talk to you, we will. We have redundant systems, so even if we're down, chances are we'll be able to get social media messages and telephone contact somehow to the town. We haven't lost it fully since Hurricane Jean.
Okay. One last question, and we all have this neighbor who is going down with the ship. They don't care if it's a warning, they don't care if it's mandatory. What can we do in terms of being good neighbors to make sure that the police force knows the neighbors who are not evacuating? I mean, is that taboo? I mean, how can we help?
We don't take a list.
Okay,
We do not do next of kin notification as has been done in the past because we found that that's ineffective.
okay,
We will make every effort to go through town and by way of PA system and social media and everything in our power, let people know and personally make contact if we can. We do not force people out of their homes. If you are the diehard that is going to stay here, that's fine. We will encourage you to leave. However, it is your home. If you are a guest or a visitor to the island, we have the authority to make you leave. So if you're out looking at the beach, we have the right to make you go back to your house, but we don't remove you from your house. That's just one of those unconstitutional things we don't know to do.
well, thank you for that clarification. A lot of people have asked me that question also, so.
If there is a curfew, I will warn you, it is in effect for Palm Beach County or for here. It is in effect for everyone, and that means that you're welcome to be on your property. If you choose to go to the beach and somebody like the chief happens to see you and tells you to go back home, please do not argue. We will provide lodging for you.
And it's not comfortable. I will remind residents also that if you're planning to leave or you do leave and then you want to come back, the Woolbright north side or the west side of Woolbright floods terribly at the bridge. And I think with all the construction that's going on down there right now, it's even going to be worse. So if you do leave, it probably would be best to go over the main, over Ocean Boulevard.
Both
That's-
Ocean and Woolbright have
Yeah.
flooding issues on the west side of the bridge.
I wanted to ask about when the bridges go up. What is the timing on
The
that?
bridges do not
Do
go
not
up.
go up.
I thought they kept them up.
They
No.
keep them down.
Oh, they keep them down, and they have the police on
So
each side
30
of the bridge,
Yes.
35 to 40 miles per hour, the state, if you have a boat,
right?
35 to 40 miles an hour, the state and the county will make a decision to lock down the drawbridges. And I've been asked this question for 30 years. It's amazing. If they put the bridge up and it twists, they can't put the bridge down. If they put the bridge down, it's safe. You'll notice that if we are having a hurricane, they will start to remove the signal arms
Right.
or tie them to the posts on the bridge. You know at that point in time, until they put them on, that the bridges will remain in a lockdown position. We will then monitor that to stop cars from coming in.
Right.
Any other questions? Dave? Questions, comments?
Yeah, Dave Hutchins, 33 Harbor Drive North. I have one question that was pertinent during Irma. One of my neighbors, who takes great pride in the yard, had all the mess brought out of his yard and put on the street, to the point where it constricted the street, to my mind, and made it difficult for emergency vehicles to go back and forth. And of course, he had a beautiful yard, realize you don't like to get in a match with neighbors who think that they're more important than the rest of us, but I would encourage you, if that develops this year, you certainly have my support.
I think that if that individual develops this year, we will enforce the curfew with lodging and the trash with removal of the individual.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
And it's important to note that really the yard trash pickup is on Tuesdays. So there shouldn't be any lawn clippings or palms or anything else trimmed now and put out on the street for pickup, because they're not going to get picked up until like Tuesday. And more than likely, they're going to be blocking the water flow or the flood flow to the drains. So if you see a neighbor that's putting stuff in front of the drains, and we have problems like that on Adams, Christine, right across the street from you, that's periodically block the drains, so we need to make sure that that doesn't happen.
The town has ordinances that once a state of emergency is issued and a warning is issued, that we will then go and enforce those things. Up until the point in time that there is a storm warning of sorts, we do it gingerly because we have to do it just like we do every day. I believe what Mr. Hutchins was saying is that after the storm, people are going to want to clear things, and we recognize that, and we'll handle that on a case-by-case basis. And we ask that, tell your neighbors not to put it on the street, tell them to put it on the town right away next to the street. And we'll get it picked up as soon as possible. We did a fantastic job, as far as my history serves me, on Irma, in getting them in as fast as we possibly can, and not waiting as long as other cities did. But we are at the Solid Waste Authority, mercy of the Solid Waste Authority, because if they're not open, nobody will come back.
We have other I think that's what you're saying, if we have other contractors on call for pickup other than the normal Solid Waste Authority that picks up.
Excuse me, I don't like that thing.
Well, you have to, I'm sorry, but
You have to.
like it or not.
Okay, my name is Adria McBride, I live on Fayette. I'm curious about the personal belongings that are on the beach. Who's responsible for moving those?
The people that own them,
Okay. Seriously, because I have in the past moved this stuff, and it disappears, because I'm not about to drag it back, so if there's personal belongings there at the deck, they're supposed to move it.
You're talking about the lawn chairs and
Lawn chairs,
benches.
beach chairs, umbrellas.
Paddle boards.
Okay.
yes, the person that, the people that own it
The
would be
condos that own
responsible.
them also? Okay.
It's private property where they're keeping their stuff, and it's their personal property, and they would be responsible for securing their own things.
Okay, just curious.
If
because
we
I
get a
before.
storm that has a large storm surge or large waves, it's not uncommon for things to be displaced and moved to
Okay.
places like Fort Lauderdale.
Thank you. Okay, if we have no further comments, would one of the commissioners like to make a motion?
Sure, I move to adopt Resolution 2019-12 as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Hopefully, we don't need it. Best of
Right.
luck, everybody.
Thank you all for coming.